I'm the Chief Academic Officer at Education Plus in St. Louis, Missouri. That is a voluntary cooperative of about 62 school districts. We serve 29,000 educators and about 300,000 students. And so I do all things professional learning.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So conference here, what's your session?
So my session is, I'm one of the folks that's doing 6 innovations in 60 minutes.
Okay.
And so I'll do, it's not really an Ignite session, but I think that's the spirit of it, is that in 10 minutes I'll share something cool that we're doing at our center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very good.
So tell us, give us one hint. What's one of them? Because we can't make it.
Well, I only get to do one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What is yours?
Sure. So what I'm highlighting is Gateway to Change,
Yeah.
and it was really established kind of on the heels of the death of Michael Brown in 2014. Nationally, people coined the term the Ferguson situation. Most people know about Ferguson, Missouri, and that's really in our backyard.
Okay.
And our community was feeling like, what do we do? How do we help our teachers and our students process this information? And so we built out a framework to allow students to have courageous conversations, and that was in the format of summits. And so we bring cohorts of students together throughout the course of a school year and give them the tools to have those conversations and problem solve. So,
You know, that's exactly Dr. Steve Wyckoff was on earlier, and Ginger Lumen has been by. One of the leading things here we've been talking about is conversation. And looking in light of what's happening in the country right now, citizenship and civics and social studies has become a big deal to a lot of us educators. Like, we need to really put more emphasis on that, because that's what we're seeing. I know they talk these millennials and these snowflakes and these kids, and they give them all these names. You know, they're not afraid, but they need to learn how to express themselves with others who may have different feelings about what's happening, and then understand that we all work together, and let's get through this, and let's redefine this for us now so that we can handle this better. And so I see exactly where you're coming from. Yeah, it's very timely right now.
Right. That whole notion of listening to understand and not listening to formulate how I'm going to respond to that. You know, I do that at home with my kids and my husband too. So just that whole notion to really to speak your truth and listen to understand. That's it. It's really that simple. But we don't talk about it.
Right.
It's easier to turn a blind eye, but we're really challenging folks to be responsible for what you see. It's pretty, I mean, it sounds simple, but it's hard to do, and have those courageous conversations and just lean into discomfort.
That is true. I think you've hit on a perfect topic for this conference, because at that level, this is a level where you could actually visit most of the service centers in the country and help these teachers in these school districts that these service centers, work for, to get this concept down, because this is a problem. I'm pretty sure that every school district, every cooperative, every educational service center can go, yeah, that's one that we really need to work with our staff on so they can work with our students on.
Yeah, turn on any news media at all, and you'll see it in any, whether it's a social or cultural difference of sorts. Everybody's got something to work on, so it's relevant, and it will be relevant forever.
Right.
I mean, there will be an issue of sorts to deal with. So I feel like it's always going to be relevant. But we're proud of our kids. We've got a great program growing and going. We started just two years ago with 14 high schools, and we've got 38 now with a waiting list. So it's a good problem to have.
Yes.
And now we've got businesses engaged and wanting to be a part of it. So I'm pretty proud of our kids and my staff and our program and our region for rallying around just having the right conversations.
Yeah. So when you're working with teachers and you're working with the students, what are some of the things that you specifically talk about in addressing those issues?
So historically, we've had 3 summits a year, and they all kind of follow a similar framework. That first summit is just really laying foundational understandings and norms about being okay with being uncomfortable, and some tenets about courageous conversation. And but right now, our last summit was literally the week after the election, and so emotions were running high, as you can imagine. And so kids wanted to talk about it, and they lined up at the microphone, and we had to cut it off at some point because we had other things to talk about as well. But kids really needed to process that, and I feel like the grown-ups had a harder time hearing people just really express their emotions honestly. And so we, as the other grown-ups that were facilitating, had to deal with the grown-ups. The kids were okay with hearing the different opinions, but the grown-ups really weren't. But the other is a lot of conversation about interactions with police officers. And so we've had police officers in our audiences, and at one point some discomfort on their end. And so we've put the microphone in their hands and allowed them to speak their truth as well. And really that's the whole premise, is just allowing people to speak their truth and not script it. Just let it go wherever it goes naturally. And like I said, I don't know if I were scripting it, if I would have had that summit the week after the election. And I don't know that I could have scripted the way it went either. So it was quite interesting, but nonetheless a great learning opportunity for all involved. But I do feel like just the notion of race in St. Louis has historically a long-standing history of segregation with the Del Mar Divide. There's a great documentary about the Del Mar Divide and the history there. So I feel like we kind of try to go back to history and better understand how we got this way, if you will, so that we understand that there's a backstory there, and we need to understand that too. So it's a journey, and new kids come every year, and everyone comes with a different experience, and so we support everyone where they're at in their journey at the time that we get them.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like with the excitement about the program and your numbers growing, that you're going to be doing this for some time, which means you're going to have data upon data to build off of, and so the program can only get stronger. And you feel like you guys, are you adding staff? Are you bringing in more?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answer, an honest, transparent answer, has been no. Just financially, no. But strategically, we've just had a conversation about that very thing. Is this issue is not going away. This morning as I was preparing to come over here, I was watching the news and watching a similar issue play out regionally. And we were talking about how can we not plan to grow in this area and continue to support our region, our community, our schools. So we have to figure it out. So while it may not be in the budget, we got to figure it out. We would be doing a disservice, I think, to our schools and our community not to try to figure it out, at least.
I can see a ton of college interns loving to be a part of this program and bringing in this fresh, new voice to the whole thing. And, that being something you guys could even build out for post-secondary, and secondary, it would be kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of voices out there to be heard of, the new generation. And, we know what, it's funny you said that about dealing with the adults, because they're the ones that had the problem. It's just, it's that old dog, new trick thing, they just have a hard time with that. But college interns are cheap. And
well, by the same token though, as you're having these conversations and you're hearing where some of the students are coming from, how much of that of the student opinion is formed because the environment they grew up in with the parents having particular, whatever opinions the parents have, that's being projected onto those students. You live in the household that believes XYZ, then most likely that student, or even if they don't believe XYZ, it certainly has an influence on how that student behaves and what they think and how they react.
Absolutely. Well, and many students, so white students, for example, while they may not feel they're privileged, they won't even know, that they were born into privilege or the opportunities that were provided to them. And so one of the examples that I gave with our business engagement at our last event was our businesses pitched real world problems that they're having to the students. And so the students were problem solving the business problems.
Yeah.
And so the next 3 months they'll be doing research about the business problems and pitch it back to the businesses. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But one of them was one of our banks that's participating shared unfair lending practices. And just that statement alone is going to cause those students to look at the GI Bill, for example. And I think that's going to unearth some new information for some of our students about doors that were open for some and not others.
Sure.
And so, again, all of that hopefully will create new learning for all of them.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're all, to some degree, products of our environment, so to speak. But again, if we can teach some sense of empathy and willingness to learn and again, listening to understand.
Right.
That's the end goal. So, yeah.
That's very cool. Man.
Well, awesome. Anything else you want to share?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about our program, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was just going to ask where, I'm assuming tweet, Facebook, whatever, something,
Yes.
where can folks reach out to you?
Yes, so we are on both Facebook and Twitter at G2C Plus, Plus, G2C Plus, and I'm at Tiller Jen.
At Taylor Jen.
Awesome. So after you finish your session and you see the seat open, if you are excited, if you feel, I got to tell somebody something. I know how that is.
This is what happened in my workshop, and I got to tell you.
We actually have that here. We get to see so many people, and we get to talk about so many topics. It's really, after a conference like this, we're both pretty pumped for a long time. So we know that feeling, that euphoria of sharing your message with someone. So if you feel like coming back and the seat's open, please come back.
Okay, appreciate that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
we're going to give you a parting gift.
Oh,
Sitting
thank
down
you.
in the hot seat and being subjected.
And actually, literally hot.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? That's not so bad. That's not so bad. It's been
not.
cold
It never
in
is.
there, so that's not so bad. I was sharing with Christine as we were walking by earlier. I've seen you guys a couple of summers at ISTE, and the line. You've been to ISTE, right?
Nope.
No?
That was not us.
It wasn't?
No, that was
Oh,
not
you're
us.
kidding. Well,
No, sorry,
someone's
but-
doing podcasts at ISTE.
I'm sure they are.
And so I was saying that there's lines to get to and then you walk by here and I'm like, that chair continues to be empty
Yes,
over there, but
yeah,
there's
no,
a different age crowd at some of these
Right.
too.
That's part of that. So
You're not recording that part, are you?
it's all good. It's all
We're
good.
actually doing FETSI this year in January.
Okay.
For us, that's a huge one, and so we expect there to be lines out the door.
Right.
But-
Yeah,
It's all good.
It's just some folks don't feel it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah. Are you familiar with METC? That's the Midwest Educational Technology Community.
We're not, but that's something
It's
we can-
Missouri's ISTE affiliate.
Wait, Joe. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you're fine. It starts on Valentine's Day, so it's 14-15, and that's ours, our conference, and we bring in about 2,200. So just one time when you're bored, check it out. We've been doing it
We
for
might just reach out to them and say, hey, would you like it?
just under 30 years. So I want to say this is year 29. Next year's a big year for us, but that it's a really big conference. It's a good one. So